What's up guys, Gray here. Welcome back to another Destiny 2 video. In today's video, we are studying the way of the warrior. I've got a hunter build to share with you all today, and it's all centered around Arcstrider. The Arcstrider subclass got some really nice buffs this season, especially for PvE. So I wanted to put together a unique build that is purpose built to get the most out of this subclass. Let's start off by taking a look at all the buffs that came to Arcstrider this season. First off, Arcstaff received a nice duration increase from 16 seconds to 20 seconds. They increased the radius of the airborne slam attack from 5 meters to 6 meters, and they also increased the overall damage of Arcstaff in PvE by 33%. Those are some really nice buffs and changes to the subclass as a whole, and you definitely notice that damage increase on the super. It's actually capable of taking down champions and majors. It can deal some decent damage to bosses now. Additionally, Top Tree Arcstrider saw a small but welcome change as well. Deadly Reach now lasts for 10 seconds, where it used to last for 8. And there is now an on-screen timer that shows you the buff's duration, so you can see the countdown. There were also some changes to Middle Tree Arcstrider, where Tempest Strike can now proc Lightning Weave, as well as a few other quality of life changes. But today, the build is going to be all about Top Tree. I wanted to make a unique build that was worthy of these new buffs and changes, while also adding in a few new tricks, mods, and weapons. We have a ton to get into today, guys, so if you enjoy the video, do me a quick favor and hit that like button down below, as it greatly helps out the channel and helps more people find the video, and consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. Thank you guys so much for the recent support on the channel. It has been insane. But with that out of the way, let's get into it. So if you guys saw my previous build video on Handheld Supernova and Middle Tree Warlock, you'll know I've been messing around with Elemental Wells a lot lately. I think they are incredibly slept on, similar to how Warmind cells were when they first came out. There are a lot of very unique mechanics we can take advantage of by using these Elemental Well mods, and combining them with Arcstrider can give us some very potent results. Let's take a look at our subclass of choice here, Top Tree Arcstrider. Our melee ability is a pretty interesting one as far as Destiny goes, and that is Combination Blow. Killing an enemy with this melee will instantly start our health regeneration and gives 1 stack of Combination Blow. Each stack of Combination Blow increases our melee damage, and it stacks up to 3 times. At 3 stacks, it is a 4.1 times multiplier on our base melee damage. It's a pretty potent little ability here. And next we have Deadly Reach, where after we dodge, our melee lunge range is greatly increased, allowing us to melee enemies from further away. After the buff it received, this now lasts for 10 seconds and refreshes on every dodge. Working hand in hand with that is the next perk, Combat Flow, where melee kills instantly recharge our entire dodge. It's actually pretty insane. Combine this with Gambler's Dodge, and we have an infinite loop of dodging to get our melee ability back, as well as giving it increased range, and then instantly refunding our dodge when we get the kill. It's a really fun loop and will form sort of the core of the build here. We're going to dive into all the exotics and mods and details in this next section, but please feel free to use the timestamps to hop around to the segments that you need. And as always, a full list of needed mods will be provided at the end of this breakdown as well. Now let's talk a little bit about what exotic armor to pair with Arcstrider in the current game. There's definitely a lot of options here, and the one I chose might surprise you. We have things like Raiden Flux, which can give us bonus damage in the super. It's nice, but I tend to avoid exotics that are backloaded into the super generally, because it just makes for sort of a boring gameplay loop. Now the one that took some serious contemplation was Liar's Handshake. This has the perk Cross Counter, and it's a little complicated. Essentially, it gives you the ability to dramatically increase the damage of your melee. It's another 3 times multiplier, and it stacks with Combination Blow. You can set this up either by getting hit by an enemy melee first, giving you a really high damage follow-up, or you can also proc it yourself by doing 2 back-to-back melee attacks, giving your second attack that big damage boost. Now don't get me wrong, I spent a lot of time testing this with a ton of different weapons and mod combos to see just how hard our melee can hit by using Liar's Handshake. Under the right circumstances, and when all the stars align here, we can hit an enemy for up to 250,000 damage with 1 melee. It's a boss-killing melee attack. But it requires an insane amount of setup and can prove to be unreliable in different scenarios. So much so that the one time I managed to really line it all up, I wasn't even recording my gameplay, and it's difficult to recreate. You'll get yourself killed left and right trying to get it all set up just for that one perfect punch. I'm sure people can probably do it better than me, but we can still do pretty big damage without it, and with this next exotic, we get a massive boost to our survivability, which we desperately need to make this all work. The exotic we're going to be using today is the Assassin's Cowl. I wanted to talk about Liar's Handshake so you knew I definitely tried it, and it's powerful, but it leaves us exposed. After giving Assassin's Cowl a try, the rest of the build really fell into place. This exotic has the Vanishing Execution perk. This makes it so every charged melee final blow instantly gives us invisibility and restores another chunk of our health. Remember, we're also getting healing from combination blow in the subclass. Finishers and melee final blows on powerful combatants increase the amount of healing and the duration of the invisibility. So whenever we use a finisher or get a charged melee final blow, we turn invisible for a pretty generous duration of time. Combine this with the gameplay loop we've already formed, and we can get a powered melee kill, turn invisible, and refresh our dodge all at the same time. We then dodge to give us our melee back, all while being invisible the whole time. You can literally just stay invisible almost 24/7. So this gives us a ton of freedom to move around during combat and gives us an added layer of survivability. We're gonna want this because now we're going to start taking our melee damage to the next level by using some extremely powerful mods that synergize perfectly with what we are doing. The first mod we are going to look at is Melee Wellmaker. This one's pretty straightforward. Whenever we defeat an enemy with a powered melee final blow, we generate an elemental well that matches our subclass. In this case, that will of course be an Arc Elemental Well. This ties in immediately to our next mod, Well of Ions. This mod is central to the build. Whenever we pick up an Arc Elemental Well, it will give us a buff for 10 seconds. That makes our next melee attack deal increased damage, and it ain't no slouch. This adds an additional 30% damage to our base melee attack. This will be important to remember as our sort of final form will involve quite a few multipliers to our melee attack, and Well of Ions is allowing us to push that even further. Next on the list is Overcharge Wellmaker. This mod makes it so whenever we perform a finisher on a target, we will generate 2 Arc Elemental Wells. This ties into Assassin's Cowl as we can use a finisher to turn invisible, and that will really come in handy in higher end content where we might be finishing a champion or a major because we didn't quite get enough damage there. So now we have 2 very consistent and very passive ways of generating Arc Wells. Fourthly, we have the mod Elemental Armaments, where weapon kills with weapons that match our subclass have a chance to create an elemental well that matches the subclass. So getting an arc weapon kill will now give us a chance to generate arc elemental wells. This will tie into our shotgun of choice, which is a bit specific, but you'll see why that matters in a moment. Finally, we are using the mod Font of Might. This is similar to Well of Ions, except for weapon damage. Whenever we pick up an arc elemental well, we will get a weapon damage boost for all of our arc weapons. This will add additional damage to the combo loop that we have going on here. So we've talked about mods. Now let's take a look at the weapons we want to pair with this setup. We will start with a very particular shotgun, one that just came back into the game this season. It's the Arc Shotgun that is now dropping off the final boss in Prophecy, A Sudden Death. This Arc Shotgun can roll with the coveted melee build perk, 1-2 Punch. This perk makes it so when we hit an enemy with every pellet in our shotgun spread, we then get a huge multiplier bonus to our next melee attack. This is another 3 times damage boost. This stacks with everything we have already discussed, giving us potential for massive melee damage. Also, being that it's an arc element shotgun, it will generate elemental wells for us through the Elemental Armaments mod. You could also go after Found Verdict in Vault of Glass, which is another arc shotgun with 1-2 punch. So just to recap, we now have Well of Ions giving us a 30% added bonus to our base melee, which is then multiplied by combination blow and 1-2 punch together, giving us potential for huge melee damage. With all of those lined up, we are able to hit melee blows for nearly 114,000 damage. That is ridiculous. The best part about it is that all of the setup is being done passively as you simply play through the loop of the build in Subclass. Assassin's Cowl giving us invisibility is incredible because it allows us to get the drop on those bigger enemies like mini bosses and champions. You can get it all set up comfortably while invisible, and then you get to decide when to execute the combo. Speaking of the combo, let's get into a little math here. I consider the initial shotgun damage a part of the combo as well, which is why we are running Font of Might. It gives us 25% extra weapon damage on our shotgun whenever we pick up a well. At base, our shotgun hits for about 2366 per pellet, and with the buff, we see it hitting for close to 3k. It's about 2958. Add that to our 114k damage melee, and we have a ridiculously powerful back and forth combo going on here. But we can take it one step further. In our heavy slot, we can choose to use the tractor cannon. This is an exotic heavy shotgun that applies a 30% debuff to our target. That will make it so all incoming damage will be increased by 30% for a brief time. Sounds like extra steps, but it's actually something we can pull off pretty easily due to being invisible. You can generally get tractor cannon applied and fire your 1-2 punch shotgun before the enemy even notices you, and then you just follow up with that extremely powerful melee. If you're able to line it all up, this combination will hit for a total of around 193,000 damage. The best part? You can spam this combo, and the only thing you'll lose is that Well of Ions buff after the first melee. It'll allow you to pump out some insane damage considering what we are doing. Are you going to use this on Atheon in Vault of Glass? Probably not, but that doesn't mean we can't use it anywhere else in the game that has champions and big enemies. Speaking of champions, if we are running the full tractor cannon combo, that really only leaves us with one weapon to deal with champions. We can certainly use our kinetic slot for anything we need here, and this season we have anti-barrier auto rifle, unstoppable pulse, and overload bow, all things that you can freely use with this build. But we don't often come across just one particular type of champion at a time. This season we also have unstoppable fusion rifle in the artifact, and we can use that in higher end content where it may be necessary. We would want to swap tractor cannon for a heavy fusion rifle of any kind to take advantage of unstoppable fusion. This also allows us to then equip the seasonal debuff mod Particle Deconstruction, which gives us 30% added damage on all of our fusions. It's great for that higher end content. 1K Voices, Sleeper Simulant, and Threaded Needle are fantastic options to fill that slot, so keep that in mind depending on the content you are heading into. Now let's get a full list of mods up here on the screen. You are going to need the following mods. You'll need 1 Melee Wellmaker, 1 Well of Ions, 1 Overcharge Wellmaker, 1 Elemental Armaments, 1 Font of Might, and 1 Particle Deconstruction if needed. All of this is being used alongside the following: Assassin's Cowl, an arc shotgun with 1-2 punch, tractor cannon if you're feeling pretty spicy, or a heavy fusion rifle paired with particle deconstruction. And there we have it, a sort of different take on a PvE Arcstrider build. You do still have that buffed super to take advantage of as well, and now you also have massive damage from a simple shotgun melee combo. Melee-based builds can be difficult to use in certain in-game content like grandmasters, but Assassin's Cowl gives us a lot of flexibility and survivability to scale this build up pretty far in PvE content. I really hope you enjoyed the build, and I really hope you made it this far into the video. If you did, leave a like below for me and subscribe to the channel. We do build videos like this all the time, and we cover all the classes. Let me know what you guys think down below. Will you be putting this together? Is it too much to set up? I'm curious to know your opinions on how far we should take things with some of these builds. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I will see you next time.